Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. Well, I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I'm so glad to be back with you today. And with me, as always, is my faithful crew of the three wise men in Jesus. We got Colonel Sanders listening to the smooth sounds of some Kentucky bluegrass, Little Whitey listening to Little Richard twinkling the keys, and of course, Dwight Schrute listening to the amazing music from Scrantonicity. And unaffected by Steve Jobs' world domination of the iPod, it's Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High, with his GodPod Alpha and Omega. Well, we're so glad to have you on this edition of Church Media Design TV, and as you can see, the monitor is different because it's the Mac edition. We're going to be covering Steve Jobs' rise to glory and talk about the Mac and some of the Mac-centric software. We're not going to be covering ProPresenter today, but we'll be covering it in the future. We're going to be talking about Countdown Maker and some other really great Mac stuff that's going on for you in the church media world. So if the three wise men in Jesus can hear me over their little white earbuds, let's get into it. Well, if you haven't noticed, I'm not much of a Mac fanboy. It actually kind of hurts me to have the Mac on my desk right now because I've never really enjoyed the Macintosh culture. I don't dislike the operating system. I don't dislike Steve Jobs. I own an iPod Touch and I love it. I enjoy using the Mac computer, but I'm just sick of you people trying to force down my throat that your computer is better than mine. I could care less. I just want the right tool for the right job. Now, if you think this is the right tool for your right job, then good for you. Just don't try force it onto me. So that's kind of my history with the Mac computer. But the reason that we got a Mac again is our Sunday morning computer died after 5 years. It was this beefy old laptop. It had an Intel desktop processor in a mobile laptop, and it just kind of decided to take a crap fest, and it's no longer with us. But we got this Mac, and we got it because we wanted to switch over to ProPresenter. And ProPresenter is a great software, media software solution for presenting on Sunday mornings and for all your different events. And I will be doing a ProPresenter versus Media Shout comparison in the next few weeks. My schedule's kind of crazy, but I'm going to do it as soon as I possibly can because I know some of you have been asking for it. We got our Mac from the Mac Mall. We paid a little bit less. I would encourage you guys to head over to the Mac Mall. It's macmall.com and check out all the different deals they have there. You can get some good discounts if you buy some extras from them, and you even get just a little bit off even without getting those extras. I would encourage you guys to go with an iMac if you don't need the portability, because the iMac is going to give you all the processing power you need, and it's a little bit cleaner and it's not as expensive. And the one thing to remember is screen resolution is really important. The one thing I don't like about this computer already is that my screen res is really small. It's 1440 by 900, and it's just not enough to work with when I'm inside Photoshop and those kind of programs. So check out macmall.com to find some great deals on Mac computers, and that's just a little history of Whitey and the Mac. Well, our first Mac tip is a little tip about Preview. Now, Preview, as you know, is this awesome cover flow. They brought it to iTunes first and now brought it to the operating system. And you can see a nice preview of all your different files here. And so you can see we have a preview of our PDF. This is our current from Watermark, our little handout. And this is some random image. And we got an EPS in here and MPEG-4 video, and then actually an AI file from Illustrator actually previews the file there. But one thing that you can see is that the EPS file is getting no love, as Bitbox said when he first published. This is where I first heard about this story, was from Bitbox. And he's like, the EPS is getting no love in the new version of OS 10. And there is a fix for it, though, to preview EPS files and not just AI files. So if you head over and check out Eternal Storm Software created this EPS Quick Look plugin. And so we'll just install this real quick and show you how it works. So we'll just run the little install. Now that we have that installed, we can go back to our little preview folder here. And if we maybe refresh the window, how about we close it out? and reopen it. Now if we go over, show me the file. So there's our file. We have our card front, and we can actually preview this EPS file. So it's a really handy little deal, and you can see now you can see all of your EPS files from within the folder, and you gotta love this preview to be able to go through your folders and see thumbnails of all of your videos, all of your files, from PDFs to EPSs to AI files to text documents. You actually can see Word documents and what they look like. So the preview inside OS X is really great, as you guys know, but now you can see your EPS files from inside there as well. Well, on episode 1, yes, there was a first episode of the show, and if you haven't watched it, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's still worth watching. We covered countdowns. We covered how to make countdowns inside After Effects. And also we covered this brand new software called Countdown Creator by Nevin Hooker. And it's a great piece of software, but it's PC only. Well, soon after we finished taping that show, I was listening to Church Tech Talk, and they interviewed these guys from this weird company called Trimonics. And they made a program called Countdown Maker, which is a countdown program for Mac only. And so I got in touch with the guys from Trimonics, and they gratefully gave me a copy of Countdown Maker to show you guys. So if you head over to trimonics.com, you can take a look at Countdown Maker, and they're actually working on other software programs. They talked about them on Church Tech Talk, about different Quartz plugins for different things, as well as some cool software. And I know all of it's going to be Mac-based only, but keep a lookout for what's coming down the line from Trimonics. But let's take a look at Countdown Maker. So we'll open the little stopwatch up. And the first thing you'll see here is that it's got a preview, and it's already started to count down, which is, I don't know, a little weird. I don't know why it has to start right away, but you can pause it. And you can do pretty much all the same stuff you can do in Countdown Maker, but it's just set up a little differently. Their interface definitely is a lot nicer. I will say that for sure. And a lot of it has to do with it's using the native UI from the Mac, which is a lot more graphically pleasing. But you can go in here and you can set the countdown length. You can go in and you can change your font. You can change your font size, so we can mess with the font size. We can mess with the font spacing, which is really nice. So let's pick some random font out of here like Rosewood, and whatever. So you can mess with different fonts. You can mess with your position. You can mess with your rotation. The nice thing it has here is it has screen safe guides, which is your title safe zone for video. And it's nice that they add that in there, because if you're ever dealing with that you're going to a screen, but you're also going to TV sets, this is nice so you know where your title safe is, title and action safe. So that's nice that you can preview and know what those are. Also, it has effects, which are drop shadow, and you can set the distance and the blur radius, which is really nice that you can do custom blur, and you can do custom colors and transparency of that color, and you can do a custom angle. You can also set a background, so you can set a background color, or we can choose a background. So we'll go to our desktop here and go to our preview folder, and we'll grab this trees and open it up. And if we hit play, it'll preview the video playing, and it will preview our countdown, which is really nice. And it gives you a little thing here that says if you choose a movie that's shorter than the countdown, it will loop it automatically for you, which is really nice if it's a loopable video. It's really not nice if it's not a loopable video, because it will loop a really herky-jerky end and beginning point. So make sure your videos are loopable if they're not the same length as your countdown. So you can throw that background in there, and that's great as well. So it's got a lot of the same features, but a couple of the big things that are different is, the user interface is a lot cleaner and a lot nicer looking. Like I said before, it also has the preview, which is really nice. One of the cool things they added too is that you can show a leading zero. So like if you have a 4-minute countdown, it will be 0, 4. And you can also show milliseconds, which you can't do in Countdown Creator, which is really nice that you can have that millisecond option in there. I really enjoy that. So that's a great feature of it. So for the most part, it's a really great solution for the Mac, but one of the things that it does the best is compression. So if we go to hit export, and let's make this a little smaller so it doesn't take forever. Let's do a 10-second countdown. And we'll just get that so it updates. We'll hit export here, and we can do a couple different things. We can do good playback, which is an H.264 file, which is a really great file to play inside Pro Presenter, or you can actually play that on different devices. If you wanted to give this for people to have countdowns on their iPod Touch or their iPhone, this would be a great file for that as well. But you can do H.264, you can do a good quality DV, which I'm not really sure which codec the DV one is using, but I know the Pro Quality Animation codec is actually using your fullest resolution animation. Now, what this is great to be used for is to be used in another program. And the reason you would want to use this is you can actually export out alpha or transparency. So if we hit cancel, we go back to our background and we do remove background, and we set our background color to, black, but then we take our opacity all the way down to 0. You're not going to really see a difference until we export this out. If we go and hit export, and we choose animation, and we say this is, our transparency countdown, and we hit save as an animation, it's going to export this movie real quick. And for some reason, they have really funny quotes here while it's exporting, which is nice. The first movie theaters were called Nickelodeons. So there's your random Trimonics countdown maker fact of the day. But it's exporting this countdown for you, and it's actually kind of showing it to you in real time. And we got a drop shadow in there that has some transparency, and we have an alpha channel background. Now, what we'll do is we'll close out, we'll quit Countdown Maker, and we don't need to save that file, and we're going to open up After Effects real quick. And inside After Effects, I'm going to take that countdown file and I'm going to show you how I can throw an image behind there, or I can move it around on the page wherever I want, and it's got transparency in the background. So now inside After Effects, we'll go up to File, and then down to Import, and then to File. Let's grab our Trans Countdown movie, hit Open, and we're going to say that it's straight unmatted and hit OK. And now we're going to import another file from our desktop folder of, we'll just grab that guy ripping open his shirt because we know that the ladies like it. So we'll grab that and we'll just drag that over to our composition window to make a new composition. And then we'll take our trans count movie and drag that down, and you can see we have our countdown layer that we can move around, and it has perfect transparency. So one of the cool things we can do is throw these two layers into 3D, and we'll move this countdown layer towards us real quick and maybe move it down. And then we'll just do right click and do new camera, and we'll just do whatever random camera. And if we hit the C key on our keyboard to activate our camera, we can see that we now have a countdown that's ready to count down for us in 3D space, and we could rotate around it and have a nice little 3D countdown. So that's the really nice use of having transparency available from an export from Countdown Maker. It makes it really powerful that you can use it with other programs. And it even makes it nice to use with After Effects because I can export out, and you could do this in After Effects as well, it just takes less time to do it with Countdown Maker, that you could export out a 5-minute countdown in whatever random normal font you want, make it as big as possible, and export out an animation quality of that, and then just use that in your projects because it will have to do less rendering and less work inside After Effects to make that movie. So there's just a quick look at Trimonics' Countdown Maker. Well, ask and you shall receive, and I asked for viewer mail and you sent it in. So let's check out a piece of mail that was sent in, and it says this: Brad, I'm still a little lost when it comes to all of the different video formats. For example, many Church Mini movies are shot in SD at 720 by 480, whilst some are in HD 1280 by 720. What if SD was in 1280 by 720? Would it look the same as HD? Is there more to this? Thanks for your help. Regards, Steven Officer. Well, Officer Steven, don't pull me over because I have an answer for you. And the answer is this: SD, HD, Church D, Church Def, all these different things are just standards and they're acronyms that represent a pixel dimension. So SD is a pixel dimension represents the pixel dimension of 720 by 480. While HD represents actually two different pixel dimensions. The first one is the lower HD standard is 1280 by 720, and the higher dimension is 1920 by 1080, and those are our two HD formats. Now, Church Def, I encouraged you to make be 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768. And the reason that I said we should have Church Def is because we're projecting on projectors that their standard resolution, the resolution they natively project in, is at 800 by 600 or 1024 by 768. So why make smaller quality movies and then scale them up? Why not make video that's meant for the size of the screen that you're projecting at? Same thing goes for like your iPod Touch or your iPhone. Their standard resolution is like 640 by 480. And so that's why podcasts are shot at certain sizes. So all of those different things, you can't have SD at HD quality because it would be, 720 by 480 at 1280 by 720. It doesn't make any sense. So you just got to remember these are different pixel dimensions, and if you're working on a project for different devices, you can make these things for that specific device. Like I was saying earlier, the definition of this laptop's background is 1440 by 900. So if I wanted to make a movie that natively played on this laptop and was at a native pixel dimension, I would make a video that is 1440 by 900. So hopefully that helps you out with the different video standards. Well, this week's inspiration comes in form of some great music. And if you remember the band, and you better remember the band Five Iron Frenzy, they were one of my favorite bands, and they were one of the best shows I remember seeing. One of the first shows I ever saw was on the Ska Mania tour, and they were dressed up like Star Trek characters, and one of the guys was a Klingon. It was hilarious. And then one of the next shows I went to was at Cornerstone 2000. In the year 2000... In the year 2000. And at that show, they did something crazy. They were like, hey, we have this piñata, and it's just for you guys here at Cornerstone. And they took this piñata, threw it in the audience, and all of a sudden, everyone on the stage starts laughing hysterically. And I couldn't see what happened. But apparently, that piñata was full of cream corn and refried beans. And when they broke it open, it spilled out all over the crowd. And one of my friends was right by it when it happened. And it spilled all over this girl, and she hurled right in the middle of the crowd because she was so disgusted by the cream corn. So think of that the next time you have some refried beans or some cream corn, because Five Iron Frenzy has you in mind. But Five Iron Frenzy had a side project called Brave Saint Saturn, and Brave Saint Saturn is coming out with a new album here in July, and it's called Anti-Meridian, and it's coming out sometime in July. I don't know when. It was announced on the Relevant podcast is where I found out about it. But they've had two albums. Their first album was So Far From Home, and their second one was A Light of Things Hoped For. And So Far From Home came out in 2000, and I actually saw their first official Brave Saint Saturn show at Cornerstone 2000. And that leads me to another great story of how I got to see the lead singer of Five Iron Frenzy and Brave Saint Saturn make out with his girlfriend next to me. Because before the show was starting, we're standing outside the tent, and I'm like, hey, that's Reese Roper, and he's the lead singer. And I'm like, hey, Reese is shoving his tongue down that girl's throat. And yeah, it was pretty awkward. And then he got on stage and proceeded to tell us how he was probably going to flick us off the entire show because he didn't know how to do bar chords very well, and his fingers would probably end up flicking us off. So anyway, Brave Saint Saturn has some great music. I'm the DJ, You're the Rapper is probably one of the funniest Christian songs I've ever heard. And I'm going to cut off your hand like Darth Vader if you guys don't go pick up this new album and take a listen to it. I'm sure it's going to be great. And if it's not great, well, I'm sorry. Go pick up the other two albums because they were great. So check out BraveSaintSaturn.com. So before we get to this week's freebie, let's see how the music is going for Little Whitey and Little Richard.
Womp bom loom bom 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 to the food, oh rude, to the food, oh rude, to the food, oh rude,
Well, goodness gracious, that was a great ball of fun. Now let's get to that freebie. This week's freebie is a series package for the kingdom. It was a series that we did about the kingdom of heaven, and this is all done at Church Definition 1024 by 768, and we have a loopable title background as well as a loopable worship background using that nice spiral that we made last week. And I think this would be a great asset for you guys, and hopefully you would be able to use it. So head over to www.ChurchMediaDesign.tv and get that download from there. We have those couple different movies as well as a layered Photoshop file that you guys can mess around with, as well as some JPEGs and all that good stuff. So head over and check out The Kingdom. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of ChurchMediaDesign.tv. If you guys have any questions like Officer Stefan had, please send those in to Brad at ChurchMediaDesign.tv, or you can leave questions and comments on the show's comment section at ChurchMediaDesign.tv, which is really helpful for new people who are coming in and checking out the show. And if you're new to the show, thank you so much for watching, and I would encourage you guys to go check out old episodes, and there's freebies in most of those episodes like today's show, so go check out all those freebies. And I would encourage you guys to stay in touch. And if you want to stay in touch through Facebook, I actually talked to a bunch of people on Facebook Messenger this week. So become my friend. I'm Brad Zimmerman. Or become a fan of us on Facebook. Or hit me up on Skype, Vinmark Productions on Skype. Or there's a million different ways. And just stay in touch. And I really want to answer you guys' questions. And I'm working on a lot of the things that you guys have sent in. So look forward to some of those things coming in the near future. So for me and the 3 iPod listening wise men and the anti-Steve Jobs Jesus Christ, we're saying see you later. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. I can't do it. Oh. I'm okay. In the... Sorry. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious, that's a great ball of fun. Now let's get to the free... Wow.